What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Trading. Today we're going to be breaking down class of 2026 wide receiver JAPREE Joseph Jennings and his route running and how he is able to create separation and use some of his explosiveness to get open pretty much. So I came across this kid's page on Instagram, and I believe he follows our channel on there. And I think the way he runs routes is so impressive for a kid his age, and I think it's something that all of us can 100% learn from and get better from. So I hope this video gives you guys some value. I hope it teaches you a few new things. And also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to get some work in with us this offseason, we are traveling out to 3 more states, 3 more opportunities to train. We're coming out to Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Los Angeles, California for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So if you guys want some more information on that, check out that very first link in the description below, fellas. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season camps. Let's get started. So this first router, this is going to be an inside release post route using a rocker step at the top of the break, which is a great way to get separation when you have an inside release and you're running a post. So maybe this DB's lined up outside shade, whatever it is, but when we take this inside release, my number one goal should always be to restack for this reason. So JAPREE does a great job of using this rocker step at the break point. Now, the way I think a lot of young wide receivers go wrong is that when they do this like rocker step type movement, they do this head fake or they do this hard cut, they take very choppy steps. Like they don't actually sell the movement to the outside or to the inside when they're trying to fake in, then cut back out. So pretty much what a rocker step is like if you're running a post route, instead of you just cutting off of your right foot when you're on the right side, you would go left then right. It's like a 1-2 at the top, like kind of like a double up off the line. Now, the way you can think about this to not get confused is you want to step in the direction that you are going first. So if you want to go inside, you want to step inside first and then step outside. So it's a 1, then a 2. Now, what he does a really good job of is using that inside move, that inside fake, that's the first step of the rocker, to push into the second step. Because when a DB is in man coverage, he is going to be watching where? Your hips. So if you don't sell with the upper half and actually throw your hip, actually step to the outside, this DB is not going to bite and he is not going to jump to the outside. So that's what he does a really good job of. He does this quick 1-2, actually throws to the outside, and that's what will get that DB to bite, and that is what can get us some separation, especially when you are restacked on this thing. Could you do this on a post if he was off? 100%. You could do this against zone, you could do this against off man, or you could do this against regular press man when you have him restacked. So that is a textbook rocker step right there. Now, one of the things that I think he maybe could get a little bit better on is right before the break point, you see how his strides start to chop. Now, if he would have kept his stride, I think he could have gotten a lot more separation from this DB. And this is to not bag on him. This is just to show you guys that, you know, somebody who runs very, very explosive routes, but also is on the younger side of things, has the same problems that a receiver who maybe isn't on this young would still have, or maybe who is even younger would still have. So all the problems with route running, all the mistakes, fellas, from youth ball all the way up to the NFL, they're all relatively similar, and they all come down to 3 things. Indicators. If you're giving the DB an indicator on what you're doing, he has an easier time making a break. And an indicator comes from either a raise of your pad level, a slow down with your speed, or a chop of your stride. Those are the big 3 that we always want to try to eliminate. And if we can do that, I guarantee you will get separation 9 out of 10 times, unless the DB guesses and he's in the right spot. But great job using that rocker. Just could keep that stride a little bit longer leading into the break. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job taking the inside release and not just running off into open space, actually working to restack to give a move. So now this route right here. This is a good example of forcing a release and what might happen to you guys if you force a release, but also making the most of the situation with this inside release on an outside breaking route, more specifically an out route. So let's play this thing full speed. So what JAPREE does a good job of here is pushing vertical, obviously getting the DB to flip his hips, but also slipping underneath to run this out. But this maybe wouldn't be the most like technically like the best thing to do in a live game situation, but he's also running this against high school guys, college guys. So again, it's going to be a good competition level, and this is how you get better, fellas. I can't stress it enough. There are wide receivers who are afraid, and DBs who are afraid to go up against a higher level of competition because they're afraid to get embarrassed. They're afraid to get locked up. Fellas, that is how you get better, and that is how you progress with your game. If you come up there and you're just going up against scrubs, you ain't getting any better, man. You ain't getting better at all. You have to go up against top level guys, because that is if you want to play college ball, that is what you're going to go against every single damn play. So you better get used to it, right? So lining up pre-snap, this DB's inside shade. How do we know that he's inside shade? How do we know that he's inside leverage? He is, look where his front foot is, even with the white line. So this DB's outside foot is even with the white line. His left foot is tailored to the inside a little bit more. So we know that he's inside shade. That means that he doesn't have help to the inside. He wants to force us outside. So if I run this route, and let's say I take the inside release, this DB is taught to not give it up. So when we run this route, I want you to see how wide, because he kind of forces the inside release here, how wide he gets rerouted. He's probably about 5 yards to the inside. This is where he started. That's where he's running this route. So in a real game scenario, unless you're like on the bottom of the numbers, you would probably be running into another defender or another offensive player running a route. The spacing of the play might be bad if we force a release like this. But again, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you just take the inside release. That's the way it goes. But that's something that you guys can work on, is maybe instead of not forcing the inside release all the time or the outside release, you take what he gives you. He's inside leverage. Okay, I'm going to threaten his leverage, take the outside release, because that is where I'm going to get the freest release and be able to keep timing and spacing with my QB. But now, if I do end up taking the inside release, this is textbook on what you would want to do. You would want to self-fade, right? And how do we self-fade? Not giving indicators to a DB. So he's running in full stride, running in full speed. Everything looks the exact same until it doesn't. And that is when we're able to slip underneath and throw by or just slip by. So, fellas, when you guys are running the route, that's why it's so important to work on your change of direction skills, your hip drop, the violence behind your cuts. Because when you're able to take an inside release and have that DB flip his hips, the only way that you could slip back under is you have to be able to get low. You have to be able to drop on a dime. And that's why those skills are so important. And that's why a lot of receivers neglect that, because they never know to put themselves in these situations and trust themselves at the top of the route. So pretty good route, pretty good decision at the break point to slip under, to take the inside release, sell vertical. But when we take a very, very wide inside stem like this, I could run into other receivers, I could run into another defender and kind of screw up the spacing on the play. So just know that, fellas. I include that so you guys can learn from this, with a guy who runs very, very high level routes can still make the same mistakes that a lot of younger wide receivers will make. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Again, great job pushing vertical. I love the change of direction at the break point. Just have to make sure that we take the correct release to give that QB space. So now we are going to be looking, last clip here is going to be a dig route using a box cut. So a lot of people ask me about this type of cut. What is a box cut? Is it the same thing as a square cut? And we're going to kind of break down the different cuts that you could use on an inside route, like a 10-yard in, 12-yard dig, more like a basic dig, not so much like a post dig, almost like a dagger, if you will. But this is like a basic. So let's play this thing full speed. So he comes at this DB, snaps this thing down, throws the head fake to the outside, then is able to make the cut. So I love this route here. This is such a good route, and I love using this break. It just has to happen fast, number one. So what he does here, I would consider this a box cut. So for me, the terminology that I always learned was you could snap down, right, on a dig route. That's just where you drop your hips. So maybe you snap down on that cut. You take the second step, and then you pivot the third step and drive out. Or you could do a square cut, which is where you snap down on the inside foot, then you plant off the outside foot, and you're out in 2 steps. You could do a single speed cut where you cut off a 1 foot, or you could do what I call a box cut. Now, I call it a box cut because there's 4 corners in a box, obviously. And so, you would take 4 steps. That's kind of the standard, I guess you can say, in a perfect world. But if you don't drop on the inside foot, you're going to end up taking 5 steps, which is fine. But you were pretty much with this box cut selling like an out route. So this box cut, he takes here. Let's count his steps. So he snaps, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he throws that head fake on the 5th step to sell like he is snapping down and running almost like a 4-step outside breaking route. So the whole point of this cut is to kind of put the DB on alert with the hip drop and then fake to the outside to get him to bite on an out. It is very, very popular, this box cut, when you have ran this against maybe let's say you have inside shade and you have, let's say it's outside shade. You got his hips to flip and you snap down to try to simulate like you were going to throw by and slip under, but you do the box cut, give a fake, and then slip back to the middle. It's kind of like a fake throw by, if you will. That's when it's probably, I would say, the most popular. But the main key on this when you guys do this box cut, fellas, is JAPREE does a great job of it, dropping the hips to put this DB on alert. Because where's he supposed to be watching? He's supposed to be watching your hips. So the second he sees your hips change levels, what do you think he's going to do? he's going to stop his pedal and he's going to want to break on the ball. And then when you get him to stop his pedal, but you throw a good fake to the outside, you throw your hip, you throw a little head fake, that can get him to hesitate, and that can get us some space over the middle. Fellas, on that box cut, you have to snap, you have to draw him in, and then you have to fake to the outside. Now, how I would go about teaching it if I was training a receiver is I wouldn't say to snap on the outside leg. I would say to snap on the left leg. Because when let's say he snapped down on this step right here, you would go left, right, left, and then you would fake off of the fourth step to the outside. So it's one less step, and it's a little bit more realistic to how you would run an out route. But it's not wrong if you go 5 steps, because I get it. Sometimes you can't really worry about that specific step in this type of a drill, or this type of a move, I should say. So this is not incorrect. It's just there are 2 ways to do it, I would say. I've seen receivers do it with 5, I've seen receivers do it with 4 steps. But there's a hip drop and then a fake to the out. Hip drop, fake to the out. Would you do this on an out route? I don't like it because no quarterback ever throws an out route delayed. It's always kind of like a speed out. So you would never really need to use something like this if it were an out route. But fellas, that is how you would use that box cut. And JAPREE does a great job of showcasing that right now. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job changing levels, and then great job faking to the outside to get that DB to settle. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback, fellas. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, if you'd like to come out and get some work in with us this off season, you guys, we are traveling out to Nashville, Salt Lake City, and then Los Angeles, California for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So check out that very first link below if you're interested, you guys. I'll see you next time.